In the world of financial frauds, one name stands out prominently: Charles Ponzi. His name has become synonymous with deception and deceit, as his eponymous scheme continues to cause havoc even to this day. In this article, we will delve deep into the Charles Ponzi scheme, its dark history, and the devastating effects it has had on countless individuals. By shedding light on this infamous fraud, we hope to raise awareness and prevent others from falling victim to similar scams. The Charles Ponzi scheme. Charles Ponzi, an Italian immigrant who arrived in the United States in 1903, devised a fraudulent investment scheme that would soon become one of the most notorious in history. His scheme, known as the Ponzi scheme, promised extraordinary returns on investment in a short period of time. Ponzi claimed that he could exploit a loophole in the international postal reply coupon system, enabling investors to profit from the differences in currency exchange rates. The basic premise of the Ponzi scheme involved taking money from new investors to pay off earlier investors. Ponzi would entice his victims with the promise of astronomical returns, often as high as 50% within a few months. However, instead of investing the funds as promised, Ponzi would use a portion of the money to pay off the initial investors, while keeping a significant portion for himself. The success of the scheme heavily relied on recruiting new investors, as their funds were necessary to sustain the illusion of profitability. Ponzi used various tactics to attract investors, including hosting lavish parties, distributing brochures with false information, and leveraging word-of-mouth marketing. The promise of quick and easy wealth proved irresistible to many, and they eagerly handed over their hard-earned money. Ponzi scheme history. The history of Ponzi schemes dates back long before Charles Ponzi himself. The concept of using new investors' funds to pay off earlier investors can be traced back to the early 19th century in Europe. However, it was Charles Ponzi who perfected the scheme and achieved notoriety for its implementation. Ponzi began his fraudulent activities in the early 1920s, attracting a large number of investors with his promises of extraordinary returns. People from all walks of life, including blue-collar workers, professionals, and even celebrities, fell victim to his charm and persuasive tactics. The scheme started to unravel when reporters and financial analysts began questioning the legitimacy of Ponzi's alleged investments. As investigators dug deeper, they discovered that the returns Ponzi was paying out were not the result of any genuine investment activity. In reality, the scheme relied solely on the continuous flow of new funds to meet its obligations. When new investors became scarce, the entire operation collapsed, leaving behind a trail of financial ruin. Understanding Ponzi fraud. To truly comprehend the devastating effects of the Ponzi scheme, it is essential to understand the mechanics of this type of fraud. Ponzi schemes are based on a deceptive business model that gives the illusion of legitimate investment opportunities while, in reality, relying solely on new investors' funds to pay existing investors. There are several key characteristics that define a Ponzi scheme. Promise of high returns. The mastermind behind the scheme entices investors with promises of exceptionally high returns on their investments. These returns often seem too good to be true, and indeed they are. Use of new investors' funds. The fraudulent operation relies on a constant flow of new investors' money to sustain the illusion of profitability. The funds collected from new investors are used to pay off earlier investors and give the appearance of successful investments. Lack of legitimate investment activity. Unlike legitimate investment opportunities, Ponzi schemes do not generate any actual profits. The returns paid to investors come solely from the money contributed by new investors. False or non-existent paperwork. Ponzi scheme operators often fabricate documents and financial statements to convince investors of the legitimacy of their operations. However, upon closer inspection, these documents typically fail to withstand scrutiny. Reliance on persuasion and recruitment. Ponzi schemes heavily rely on recruiting new investors to sustain the scheme. The mastermind uses various tactics, such as charismatic presentations and the promise of wealth, to lure unsuspecting individuals into investing. Over the years, countless Ponzi schemes have emerged, victimizing unsuspecting individuals and causing substantial financial losses. Some of the more recent and notable examples include the Bernie Madoff scandal and the infamous Zeke Rewards Ponzi scheme. The devastating effects of Ponzi schemes cannot be overstated. Investors who fall prey to these fraudulent operations often lose their life savings, retirement funds, and even their homes. The psychological impact of such financial ruin is profound, leading to feelings of betrayal, shame, and hopelessness. By shining a light on the Charles Ponzi scheme and other similar frauds, we hope to raise awareness and encourage individuals to conduct thorough due diligence before investing. It is crucial to remember that if an investment opportunity seems too good to be true, it probably is. Diligence, skepticism, and a healthy dose of caution can go a long way in safeguarding oneself against financial scams. By Linda Athanasiadou, regulatory compliance and AML expert.